So hi, I'm Lizzie Gimblett. I'm founder of Pupils Profit.
And how did Pupils Profit come about?
So, well, the eco refill shop began, I'm ashamed to say, with Cherry Aid. Way back when I was the same age as the children that were being interviewed this morning, I used to take empty Cherry Aid bottles back to the newsagents and get a deposit back. And I think what that did was lodge an idea in my mind. And we've been working with schools on healthy tuck shops for over a decade. And it was shortly before lockdown that I realised that we could adapt the healthy tuck shop model and introduce a refill shop to schools and enable children to actually have some traction in what's happening with the environment and give them something practical to do. And so I was very fortunate. I had nothing to do during lockdown, and so looked at the funding landscape, got some funding from the GLA, and through that was able to run a pilot programme. And it was shortly after that, actually, that was very, very successful, that I got in touch with Alex Matthews at Goldstone Primary School, and we were able to take the pilot that had been locally based and turn it into something that was happening here in Brighton, in Kent, in Scarborough at the time. So it sort of went national, and it's been growing ever since. We've got schools all over the UK now, Scotland, Wales, all across England. So it's been really successful.
And the key part then is helping to unlock a little bit of funding to help initiate something. Did you want to talk a bit more about that funding and also maybe what funding that you've got available at the moment?
Yes, so well, we're always very, very keen to look for funding because schools often don't have funding themselves. Their budgets are very tight. So we have been fortunate. We've had some corporate funding recently. We've also had funding from councils to take this into their schools. And what that means is we can go in and fund the school to participate, fund their opening stock package, and then they go on and sell that. And then we can also provide data to councils as well if that's what they need. So we can look at data around the containers saved from waste, community behaviour change, and children's skills development, which are all important aspects of this.
So you mentioned a little bit of why, sort of the importance of this and why schools would want to get engaged, but are there some key areas that you think by engaging in this, schools are kind of being part of or helping develop in their students?
Well, actually, Ofsted often talk about the personal development grade. We get quite a lot of feedback around the personal development grade, and I think children discover strengths they didn't know they had by pushing themselves and by leaving their comfort zone and by talking to adults they don't know at their monthly refill shop. If a problem happens, they can all run and hide, or they can solve it. And actually through this, what we're trying to do is build that resilience and confidence that they have it within themselves to solve problems, which the children spoke about earlier. So those are key areas, I think.
Is it also then, because on the poster there's three, there's the environment and the sort of, the climate and nature crisis, but there's also then the element of community as well as then that personal development of the students. But do you want to talk more maybe about some of the others?
So those three things, yeah. So with the environment, it's people are busy, and what you need to unlock action is affordability and convenience. And so we've worked very hard to make sure that the product range that we offer is very affordable. And we've also looked at, primary school parents are incredibly busy people. They've got children, they've got activities, they might have jobs, they're pulled in lots of different directions. So to be able to refill when they're on the school run is fundamental, I think, for them, for many of them. And much of the feedback we get is that they weren't refilling before, or if they were, it wasn't nearly as much. In terms of the children's skills, we've talked about that, but they build confidence, they build the ability to work as a team, they build their numeracy, their problem solve, their creativity, their leadership, and those are all vital things for how they function in the school, as well as how they function in the refill shop and how they'll function in their future. And I'm very pleased to say we've got lots of budding activists as well, looking towards their future and the difference they want to make.
I mean, also to why is plastic as as a problem,
yes,
why
okay.
is that something of concern?
So for me, I've always just been very aware of the amount of waste we generate, and plastic doesn't biodegrade quickly, arguably at all. And I think there's a hole in people's knowledge. I think the manufacturers of plastic have dressed it up as something that can be recycled away. And of course, there's a carbon impact to recycling. And of course, we should do it if there's no other option. But reuse is such a simple thing. And if we can reuse things and we can just extend their life, we diminish our negative impacts on the planet. And one of the things that people don't know is 2016, the impact of aviation fuel was the same impact as plastic production. So that's just the production element of plastic equals aviation fuel. And I think people look at it as a waste problem that can be solved with recycling. So it's much, much more than that. There's a huge carbon impact in plastic before we even get it. And then we own it for a microsecond and we don't miss it when it's gone. So let's not have it.
These are slightly random things, but one of the things that I think is really interesting is the sense that young children get engaged with this and made aware of it. And then there's the potential of having been introduced to early on, where that can lead to. I don't know, have you heard any stories of them, a primary child who has been doing this for a few years, and when they've ended up going to secondary school, it's led to something else, or there's sort of ripple effects or other projects that have been offshoots of their experience of the shops?
So we haven't been doing the Eco Refill shop for very long, so it's about 3 years old, so it's too soon to talk about the ripple effects in their future career. But they definitely want to make change, and to want to make change, they're seeing change, and that seeing change will have an effect on their choices. But what we also know is that the customers that attend the refill shops, the refill shop is a catalyst for change in other areas. So whether it's in the supermarkets, if it's around their food choices, if it's around their transport choices, by running it every month and by sending out their ping marketing and by having a presence, that serves as the catalyst of an idea that is the beginning of change. And then we have people that are saying that they have made other changes more broadly as a result of the refill shops, which is fantastic.
Another one, curriculum links. I know that you've kind of got quite a clear idea of actually, well, these are really explicit ways it could link into a curriculum. I don't know if you wanted to sort of reference some of those, particularly that kind of breadth and the idea that actually it links to this subject and this subject and this.
So the children, they talk a lot about maths, and they talk a lot about weights and measures and money, and actually there's a very, very practical application for maths, but also for creative writing and persuasive writing in their marketing. I think that's absolutely vital. And then for older children, there are links to science and geography, and it's it's certainly something that the schools can work with, talking about the environment and how plastic affects so many different things, and by reducing it, the impact is not just on wildlife, but it's on the air that we breathe because of the carbon, and there are just many areas that plastic actually does affect, and in biology, the effect of microplastics on the food chain and on our bodies. So those are all aspects. Certainly Ofsted look at the personal development of the child, and we've had Ofsted inspectors visit refill shops. They haven't yet shopped, which led the children to believe that Ofsted inspectors don't use soap. But they've certainly commented on the benefits of the real world application of their skills through a refill shop. And then the other area that's very much in focus at the moment is the DfE climate action plans. And within the pillars, what they're looking for is the practice of green skills and careers. So the children will take on job roles, and they're called marketing manager or director or finance manager or stock control manager or market research manager, all of these different job roles. And they are practicing their skills within a green business. So they're developing green skills and they're looking ahead to their careers. But also the effect of plastic on biodiversity, and that's something that really resonates with the children. They don't want the penguins to eat fish that are full of plastic. They don't want to eat fish that are full of plastic, and they don't want the suffering that that plastic pollution generates. So protecting biodiversity is really huge from their perspective. And then again, you know, the carbon impact, obviously we're not the same carbon impact, positive carbon impact as, you know, introducing solar panels and all these amazing big infrastructure projects that schools can do. But still, this is something that children are very involved in, that reduces the carbon impact of manufacturing, transporting and using plastic containers for a microsecond, and then jettisoning them into either recycling or into general waste. And actually just by reusing, we've saved that impact, which is phenomenal. So within the climate action plans, there's plenty to say if the school is running an eco refill shop. But from the children's point of view, I think just the fact that they're helping the penguins is that's king.